and black out the same SUV she's talking about. There are no markings. They're in all black. Came out at gunpoint with their hands drawn on this boy. Never asked his identity, threw him to the ground, told him don't fucking move. Then they're leaning his back, checked him for a gun, asked him where the gun was. He said, I don't have anything. He said, now get the fuck out of here before something happens.
And I'm a civil rights advocate and litigator from Washington, D.C. I hear a lot of talk tonight about de-escalation training, and I'm all for that, but I'm also very much for the Constitution. And so I'm here tonight to provide notice to you. This is in accordance with USCS Rules of Civil Procedure, as well as Rule 17 and Rule 20 of the United States Supreme Court. The Constitution for the United States is the overarching requirement that every state must follow. I trust that all of you here would agree with that. States are not able to enact their own alternative legislation that's substituted for the guarantees of the Constitution. That would mean that your state laws are in fact more powerful than the Constitution, which is illegal. That's unconstitutional. Clause 1 of Amendment 5 states that no person should be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime unless on presentment or indictment by a grand jury. However, the state of Delaware unfortunately has enacted its own alternative legislation that substitutes law enforcement officers, prosecutors, and attorneys to be able to prosecute based on information as opposed to indictment, and that is unconstitutional. Here's where it gets really good. An emolument violation is when you pay a public official to commit a crime. There are two areas of the Constitution that reinforces this. The first is Article 1, Section 10, and that's where it states that no state shall create any law that shall impair the obligation of contracts. So contracts, your police officers, your prosecutors, your judges, they are all under a contract. That's a contract to perform based on the oath or affirmation they took to support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America. The second area of the Constitution that reinforces this issue regarding the emolument violation is the 14th Amendment, and that's where it says that no state shall create any law that shall abridge the privileges and immunities of United States citizens. The privileges and immunities of United States citizens, the constituents that have been speaking here tonight, are at a minimum those that are guaranteed in the Bill of Rights and the First 10 Amendments. The state of Delaware has enacted a law in its inferior constitution that is permitting public officials, law enforcement, whom you all pay, to violate the Constitution of the United States. As a result, we have an inordinate amount of people currently in prison here unconstitutionally and illegally. Mr. Tanner Downing is preparing to litigate this in the United States Supreme Court on behalf of more than 700,000 people currently imprisoned here unconstitutionally in America. Today I am here to notify you that you cannot continue to pay public officials to break the law. It is true that criminal sanctions can come from that. So I'm asking you honorable individuals, please take a look at Clause 1 of Amendment 5. Confirm what I'm saying to be true. Direct every one of your public officials to act in a lawful, constitutional manner that is consistent with the obligations codified in the Constitution of the United States of America and consistent with their oath of office. I do have a notice that I would like to put on the record, please. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. In the parliament, you guys are scared because now we voted you in, and just like we voted all you council members in, we can actually have the right to vote you out.
Good evening. My name is Tanner Downing. I'm the civil rights litigator that Ms. Sachs was just talking about. I want to step up here and I want to provide just a little bit of clarification.
Can we have your address, please?
Yeah, it's Washington, D.C. Civil rights litigator out of Washington, D.C. And I'll explain why I'm here one second here. So, but I want to provide a little bit of clarification so we can understand what just happened, what was just said. So I have approximately 1,100 criminal affidavits from victims that have been charged incorrectly in violation of the Constitution from right here in the state of Delaware. Many are from within the city here. And so I'm advocating on their behalf because when a state creates its own alternative legislation, goes out and enforces that as though it's law, that is obviously unconstitutional. So if your police officers are relying upon an inferior state statute to go out and perform an arrest by way of information and not indictment as required by Clause 1 Amendment 5, that officer is acting unconstitutionally. That arrest is unconstitutional. And when they take them and put them into a jail, that jail is housing them unconstitutionally now. As we said, you guys paid for these people to do their work. So if they are performing an unconstitutional arrest because they're relying upon an inferior state statute, you guys are paying for those crimes to be committed. And you need to be aware of that. So these affidavits identify two different crimes within them. The first is Title 18, subsection 242, which is deprivation of rights under color of law. What that statute says is that any person who, under the color of any state statute, ordinance, custom, or regulation, deprives any person of any rights secured by the Constitution, commits that crime. The second crime is Title 18, subsection 241, which is conspiracy to deprive of rights, which states when two or more persons conspire for the purpose of depriving any person of any rights secured by the Constitution, commits that crime. So when the judge conspires with the officer after the officer relied upon the inferior state statute to perform this arrest, now you have the conspiracy that's been established. These are per se crimes, which means we don't have to prove that they intended to breach their constitutional obligation. Simply by virtue of the breach, all elements of crime have been met because their willfulness and the knowledge derives from the promise that they made. Now, the law of criminal conspiracy with regard to public officials, it states that any person who, having knowledge of any of the wrongs conspired to be done, and who have the power to prevent, or aid in the prevention of the commission of same, neglects or refuses to do so, may be joined to dispense the action. So upon being provided with this notice, you guys now have an obligation, a lawful statutory obligation to take action to get this addressed. Otherwise, I'm sorry to say it, but you guys become culpable within that criminal conspiracy. Okay? So, I'm not saying that these are good people. I'm not saying that these are lawful people, but what I'm saying is these are all rightful people whose rights have clearly been abridged by the state of Delaware and agents that work for you and that you pay for. So there's a much better way to treat our people than to force them into involuntary servitude in a for-profit business for the direct benefit of the state. We're not going to permit this any longer. So this is one of 55 stops that we're doing with cities across the country, letting them know that we are going to no longer permit this to happen. So let me be clear. I'm not trying to change the laws. Rather, I'm pointing out what the laws state, and that the ways in which they're being enforced directly contradict with what is specified. Therefore, I'm not trying to change the laws. Rather, I'm asking that we uphold the laws. If the laws state that something will be done in a certain way, we must follow that way. Laws do not change arbitrarily. That is tyranny. Constitutionalism demands that the laws evolve only through suffrage. Therefore, it's up to the people to decide whether or not the Constitution applies to them, and not a judge or a state. If, in the opinion of the people of the United States, any of the provisions or guarantees of the Constitution be in any particular way wrong, then let it be corrected by amendment in the way in which the Constitution so designates. Thank you guys so much. God bless. Have a great rest of your night.
So yes, you want to complain, I'm Apollonia Rivera. And where do I need to sign the form? Because I'm ready. Because I think I've got about 5 civil violations against you guys. And I'm ready to pursue lawsuits.
And on her desk.
It's 58 days today and my son has no justice. And you guys know who killed my son.
Thank you, Council President Neal, for recognizing me. And thank you for the information that you brought forward to the council. My question is, do you have a form of training process or workshop that you can help us to make sure that we don't violate any of the laws and statutes in which you have just brought forth, so that we can be a little bit more proactive and more knowledgeable in regards to what you're speaking to?
Sir, that's a wonderful question, and I want to say thank you so much for asking it. I would be more than happy to come back and provide a little bit of clarification. If you guys want a breakout meeting, some sort of a discussion on this. This is a major situation, because right now today there's more than 700,000 people that are currently in prison here in America on direct facial constitutional violations, meaning that their judgments aren't even valid because they derive from a direct facial constitutional violation. Now, again, I would welcome you guys to invite me back. I would be more than happy to come, provide whatever clarification you want, answer whatever questions you have on this particular issue. This is a big deal. Now, the reason why I'm doing this is I'm not trying to get dangerous people out in the streets. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to bring attention to the fact that if you were to open up a criminal procedure manual written by a Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals judge, if you were to go down to the 4th paragraph of the preface, what it says that most prosecutors across America agree that as much as 15% of the people in prison are innocent. So that's an acceptable deviance because our system isn't perfect. I don't believe that it's acceptable to lock any innocent person up, certainly not if you're following the procedures or not following the procedures and processes by the Constitution for the adjudication of crime. So I'm here to say we want those innocent people back home to their families, and once again, there's a much better way to treat our people than to force them into involuntary servitude for the direct benefit of the state. 78% of the people in prison right now today are there because of drug-related offenses. That's not a dangerous person, that's a hurting person. Let's get them into treatment and the support that they need. Thank you so much. God bless.
Thank you. If you can provide your information to the clerk, Madam Clerk Bennett, I would greatly appreciate it for the future reference so we can give you a call and if at the very least, if council decide they want to do it as a whole, that'd be great. I know as representative of the 4th District, I am interested in having you to come and speak and do a training for both individuals on council who want to receive that training and knowledge as well as the community, so we all can be on one accord, which is aligned with what Brother Cleve was saying, that we have to, and also Michelle Paul and everyone else saying that we have to work together. And if we know better, then we can do better together. So please provide that information to Madam Clerk Bennett. And thank you, Council President Neal, for recognizing the idea. Thank you, sir.
Thank you all so much. God bless you.
Madam Clerk.
We shall be free, fist raised high.